General Knox set up his quarters in a civilian residence north of the cantonment. The Jacobus Vanderveer House was located on the main road from Pluckemin up to Bernardsville and Morristown. Senior officers often took up quarters in civilian residences. Knox's family, including his wife Lucy and a daughter who died in infancy that winter, moved south to join him for the winter. When Knox rode south to join his troops in their camp, he had to pass over the Raritan River and buy a saw and grist mill. This mill may also have factored into his decision to camp at Pluckemin. This part of New Jersey was full of mills and forges, which made the region an important element of the American supply effort. Approaching the crossroads village of Pluckemin, Knox could see the looming Second Watchung Mountain to the left. At the base of the hill lay the quarters of his artillery. Drawn up like an E stood on end were the 5 main buildings of the cantonment, and parade grounds lay between the buildings. On the trail leading into the cantonment, General Knox had a guardhouse constructed to control access to the grounds. As visitors approached the cantonment, they would immediately notice the main academy building, the nation's first military academy, rising above the other structures with a long line of barracks to the left of the academy. Archaeological remains suggest that upon entering a doorway, a visitor was faced with a chimney and rooms opening up on either side of that chimney. Each pair of rooms would have housed one company, with 15 to 20 men in each room. Bunks must have been stacked one above another, as was found in other barracks of this period. The fireplaces were uncovered by archaeologists, and pairs of rooms shared a common chimney. Lilly's drawing showed no windows on the front facade, but on April 6th, as the weather turned warmer, company commanders were ordered to have windows cut into the rear of the rooms. The north line of barracks offers some insights into the difficulties Knox's craftsmen and soldiers faced. Trees had to be cleared and stones collected for use in chimneys, and then the ground had to be leveled. With a 450-foot-long building running down a steep slope, it must have been necessary to dig a series of level platforms into the hillside and step each room of the building down. Running at a right angle along the base of the hill were quarters for officers, with regimental officers in a cabin uphill. Unlike the log soldiers' barracks, these buildings were probably clad in siding and had glass windows. The officers' quarters were much finer than the soldiers', with individual beds, single fireplaces, and tables with chairs. There were reports of the officers entertaining ladies from the village of Pluckemin as well. Archaeologists found oyster shells, beef and pork bones, and Chinese porcelain in trash piles behind these barracks, giving clear indications of what life was like. The 2 lieutenant colonels had their own quarters higher up on the hill, allowing them to overlook the entire cantonment, in keeping with the pyramidal hierarchy of the Army. Uphill and adjacent to the academy was the new line of barracks, built to house 7 companies of Lamb's Regiment of Artillery. It was called new because the first barracks was a much longer building designed to house the first units to arrive on site. To the right of the officers' barracks were quarters for artificers, followed by a tinsmith shop, a gunsmith shop, and the forge. Wagons were rebuilt there, horses shod, weapons repaired, and bullets cast. In the gunsmith or armorer's shop, flintlocks were repaired, as well as bayonets and other weapons. At least 4 forges were constructed for general blacksmithing. These were critical to repairing equipment from both the artillery and the infantry quartered to the south at Middlebrook. Workbenches for finishing, filing, and assembling were placed in the front of the building under windows that provided much needed light. Charcoal fires were used to heat iron, and bellows helped to achieve the temperatures needed to make iron malleable. The forges were in the back of the building, away from the light, so that the smiths could judge heat by the glowing colors of the iron. Along the southern edge of the camp was a long building shown in John Lilly's drawing. This was probably simple warehouses and storage sheds for the supplies of the artillery and the military storage department. Taking center stage, however, was the Academy, a 30 by 50-foot building where officers were instructed in military science, flanked by the new line of barracks running uphill and headquarters rooms on the downhill side, called the Long Room. The Academy was the most detailed and finely constructed building at the cantonment. It was plastered inside with wooden floors, glazed windows, and topped by a cupola. Inside, courses were taught by Christopher Collis, an Irish-American engineer, mathematician, and inventor. When not in use for classes, the space was sometimes used for dances and entertainment, leading Nathaniel Green to call it the Palace at Pluckemin. The artillery at Pluckemin was the reserve artillery for the Continental Army, as well as the guns for the 22 companies present at the cantonment. It was made up of a variety of pieces, from 3-pounders to 24-pounders, along with 5.5 and 8-inch brass howitzers. During the winter, the troops practiced loading, firing, and maneuvering, while also learning a new system of signals to coordinate their efforts. Artillery was an essential component of the Continental Army, and the progress made at Pluckemin helped ensure their long-term success. What Knox and his men built at Pluckemin was remarkable. It mirrored what he had recommended to Congress as early as 1776 in his hints for the improvement of artillery of the United States. He advocated establishing military supplies and manufacturing depots around the country, along with military academies where officers could learn their craft. During the winter of 1778-1779, the training and resupply of the Continental Army that took place at Pluckemin helped to fashion an army that could stand toe-to-toe with the most powerful force in the world, and that would eventually defeat the British at Yorktown.